Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Some of your faces are familiar, not everybody, but I'm Jane Bond Rostron, and I go to Congregational Church, as you all do. We'd like to welcome you here tonight to the retreat, and this is an empowerment for women. And of course, we wish we would have had more guests, but tomorrow we'll see more people here. So I'm going to take the time to introduce you all to the panel of speakers tonight. And when I call your name, please stand up. I'm sure everyone will know who you are, but it's just nice to see you standing. The first person is Diane Thompson.
Yay, Diane.
And we have Daisy Villa
Hello, Daisy.
and Bee Steer. Sylvia Durye. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Patty Dix.
Yay, Patty.
Carolyn Hicks.
Hey, Caroline. Hey, Caroline.
Phyllis Wicker. She's already standing. Stacy Holcomb.
Yay, Stacy.
And myself, Jane Bond. So we have a video that we're about to show you all. It's a message to all women, and it's going to be presented by Phyllis and Stacy.
Oh, I've seen this video.
Have you seen this?
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm awesome.
Passed out to you is affirmations for women. So I wanted us to think about some things that we affirm. So you can read it later, but I'll read through them quickly. Favorite Bible verse of mine is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So sometimes when we think we can't do things, then Christ is our strength. My life is just beginning. I'm the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its content. I love myself and I accept myself as I am. I radiate beauty, charm, and grace. My body is healthy, my mind is brilliant, my soul is tranquil. I am guided in every step by Spirit, who leads me towards what I must know and do. I am proud and happy to be a woman. Let's say that. I am proud and happy to be a woman.
Those are great affirmations. I know I'll take it home and say some of them every day of my life. That was a great film. It's the first time I've seen it. I'm sure you all enjoyed it. I just want to kind of use you guys as a focus group tonight for something I'm doing, and it will lead into tomorrow on the presentation of Reinventing Yourself. It's a little funny. I hope you all appreciate it. And I'll start reading it. Ladies, it's called Multiple Bagasms. Ladies, do you find yourself having multiple bagasms? I know I have one at least 5 times a week, and which I find very exhausting and exciting at the same time. Maybe I have too many lovers. I'm seeing Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, Yves Saint Laurent, Salvatore Ferragamo, and I believe I fancy girls too because recently I started seeing Pretty Chanel and Hot Stella to boot. What is all this about? Well, when I'm out with Louis Vuitton, it seems like all eyes are on me. And when I'm with Christian, it seems as though we're the only 2 on the street. But being with Gucci is just so much fun, and when I think about Yves and Salvatore and the girls' need, I say more. Ladies, how many bagasms can a girl have in a week? Or how many bagasms can a girl handle in a week? More importantly, how many can we take out at one time? There are only 7 days in a week, and I find myself forgetting how many multiple bagasms I already had on the street. I almost got caught until my husband put his foot down and said, "Enough is enough. You already had Gucci this week." Girls, when did we all become so obsessed with having multiple bagasms? Some of us dolls will spend our last dollar to have a bagasm or stoop as low as going out with an imposter, and you know that's a no-no. Where does it all end, and when do we have enough? Wait a minute. Is that Tom Ford over there? Oh no. Ladies, help me out. I think I'm having another bagasm. Before I do, is there a pill for this addiction? So ladies, when you purchase a designer bag, when you purchase these designer bags with the expensive price tags, make sure you have a guarantee from the manufacturer. Because if you have to return them for any reason, you want to make sure they'll be able to appease you. Thank you.
Good job.
Okay. So we're going back into here. Miss Diane. We'd like to present Diane Thompson, and she's going to be presenting Living Your Best Life Now.
Thank
Come on
you.
up, Diane.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Are we
Diane.
excited to be here?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm used to excitement, so let's get excited, okay? What about if we play a little game? Would you like that? Before I get started on a serious note, I have used this game before. It's fun. And if you end up with the most points and you're really honest with your answers, I have a special gift for you. Okay, I'm gonna read you a story, so you get your pen and paper out, because everybody wants to play the game. And you do have a pad in your bag, and you have a pen in your bag. You have a pen and paper.
If anyone's missing one, let me know.
I love Jane's story.
Oh, thank you.
I happen to be a bag.
A multiple bag,
So I love that. How many of you are happy to be here tonight? You are, yes. And you expect a blessing, don't you? When you go home, you want to be filled with some blessings on the inside. So let's play a game. Everybody got your paper? You have to really listen clear, and it's kind of fun. This is rather a peculiar game. It really does not have a name. It's simple to play as a game should be. You just do as you're told, you see. So now, if you please, give me your attention. We'll put an N on the suspicion. In the end, whoever scores the most will receive a special prize that you can boast on. Now, you're all fashionable girls. We just heard that from Jane. So give yourself 5 if you have pearls on tonight. Any pearls? Anywhere? You'll add 3 if your toes are peeking through.
Oh, peeking through.
Peeking through. That means you see your toes. 3. You add 3 if your toes are peeking through or peeking out. Any earrings that you have, you add 2 more to shout. If you have earrings on, if you have earrings, add 2 points.
Is that for each one?
I think that's just a pair. Score yourself 5 if you show any red.
How about this?
Red.
Red, if you have red on. I think you do, Stacy. Add 6 more for a curl in your head.
I won.
We got the 6. Now, before you think you're going to win, take away 2 for any safety pins. How many of you ever had a safety pin on your clothes? Absolutely. Give yourself 6 if your pants are tight. Add 1 for a scarf which is just about right. Anybody got a scar?
It's in the
Add 5 more if your shoes are black. Yes. And take away 3 for a zipper in the back. You have a zipper in the back. Now count your buttons. For each one, you'll get 2. Count your direct buttons. For each one, you'll get 2. Take away 1 for each button that's blue.
For each button you get how blue?
Add 2 for every button you have. Take away 1 if the button is blue. Give yourself 5 if you have high heels. High heels. I think Stacy would take the picture. Why not 10 if there's green in your eyes? 10 more points for a rose on your clothes. Do you have rose on your clothes? Take away 5 if you forgot to wear hose. But in Florida, that shouldn't count. No. I agree. A watch is 6 points, and a ring is 2.
What if you have 2 rings?
Add 4.
What if you have 3 rings?
Well, I bet you add 6.
Yeah. Wow.
10 more if your eyes are blue.
Finally.
This is important. If your husband gave you a kiss today, add 9. If he didn't give you a kiss, subtract 12. You're subject to a fine. This is the end, for there isn't any more. Let's see who the lucky lady is with the highest score. So add up your points. Wasn't that a little fun? A little fashion?
That was cute.
It's cute.
All the brown-eyed people hate it.
I know, I had brown eyes too.
I've never had blue eyes.
Okay, when you get your points.
Put my contacts.
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, my God.
Oh yeah, there's your buttons.
Oh, she's, yeah.
And they're not blue. Your buttons, let's see.
I forgot the buttons on the sleeve.
You want to know how
I
many?
never win anything, so it would be interesting.
I got 60.
Oh, you did?
You get the highest score I got.
I think I counted correctly.
Okay, who has 10? Who has 10? Everybody has 10. Okay, who has 20?
Everybody has 20.
Start with 100 and come down.
Yeah.
100? No, we're going up. We're going up.
Phyllis has 100. Yes. She went and got.
Okay, who has 30 or more? So we still 40 or more. Okay, just 40. All right, 50 or more.
Okay,
50 or more stand up.
50 or more stand up. Thank you, Cindy. Okay, if you have 60 or more, keep standing.
Good, there you go.
There's the winner.
And 10,000 buttons on her pants. Oh,
My favorite.
well, there you go.
Well, let's give her a round of applause.
Patty has pants. She has 100 buttons on her pants.
How many did you have, Phyllis? How many did you have, Phyllis?
What?
Points.
55.
Good. How many did you have?
57.
Good. Congratulations. Okay, that's a little fun thing to do because it gets women mingling and laughing, and laughter is good.
Yes.
Laughter is good. I want to talk to you for a few minutes tonight, and I'm going to try to keep it as lighthearted as I can, but this is a serious subject. And I can speak about it because of the life I've had to live and how I've had to live my life. And I bet we could go around the room and hear stories of the challenges or obstacles that you've had to deal with, even to your age. So some of you are young and some of us are more mature, but I bet we have stories that we can tell. But you know, all of us in here are Christians, and this world is not our best life. Would we agree to that?
Yes.
This is not our best life. But while we are here, we want to make this as good a life as possible. Would you agree? So I want to talk about living your best life now. And I love to talk about Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman, because that woman was a very smart woman. She was a powerful woman, and she really knew how to take care of her family and her home. But you never found her complaining. She just went about the things that she needed to do for her family and lived her best life on a daily basis. You know, Psalms 96:1 says, we are, and it was talking about women, are created in strength and in beauty. Now, if we look at our home, really, who is the stronger person?
A woman.
A woman. Because we can spin the plate in so many areas. We can go out and work. We take care of the house, take care of the children, take care of purchasing clothes, buying groceries, maybe cooking the meal. Maybe you're fortunate if your husband cooks. But we spin a lot of plates. And I think God gave us strength and beauty to be the best person and best woman we can be. So today, I want us to think about leaving the week here the weekend, that this is a new day, and that this can be a game changer. You can live the best life that you have right now. Doesn't matter whether you're an older person or if you're a younger person. I want this to be a changing weekend for every single one of us. As I thought about the weekend, I thought about myself. What did I want to gain from this weekend to be a better person, to be a better wife, to be a better mother, to be a better grandmother, to be a better businesswoman? Because I want to live my life to be the best that it can be. You know, think about your health. Some of you have great health, some of us may have challenges. But you know, if we live in strength and if we have the faith that God wants us to have, then we can be the healthiest that we can be. We know we can understand what to do for ourselves to even be healthier. Happy. Happiness is a choice. You know, I went through a lot of challenges that I spoke about at church. And there were many reasons that I could choose not to be happy. I could look back in my past and say, wow, this and that. But it doesn't do me any good. Think about your past. And things that maybe people have hurt you, or the challenges of financial, or maybe a ruined marriage, or maybe you've had a child that has gone in a different direction. You know, we still have to choose. There is a book out saying choose. Happiness is a choice. And I have read that book multiple times. It's a very easy read book. Happiness is a choice. Because you are going to have challenges in your life. We're going to have obstacles. But we just have to grab hold of Psalms when it says, you as women, we have strength and beauty. How do we do this? And I just want to talk about these 7 ways that we can have the best life today. Because you know, today is all we have. We can't go back, and we don't know what the future holds, but you have today. So I've decided in my life, and I decided this many years ago, that I'm going to make the best of today that I can. And I would challenge you to do the same thing. And I would say number one is enlarge your vision. See things in a bigger picture. God wants us happy. God doesn't want us to be miserable. You know, maybe you know women that every time you're around them, they're complaining, they're never healthy, they're, you know, you always regret that you said, "How are you doing today?" They like pull up a table and I'll pull up a chair and I'll tell you. God wants us happy. You know, we're His children and He wants us to be happy. Live in your best life possible. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? I do. When we think, when we must think that way. I'm sorry, I noted in a different way. We have to think that way. God wants us happy. We deserve to be happy, and He wants you that way. Number two is after you enlarge your vision and you start thinking, you know, it's almost like getting out of your comfort zone and making it bigger. You know, make yourself, when I get up every morning, I love the sun. Even if it's cloudy, I think of something that is going to be good today, how I'm going to make it good. Number two is develop a self-image. I love this film because, you know, when I grew up, I didn't hear all those positive things. And sometimes what we think, we tend to really believe. Or if we're told over and over and over and over, we tend to believe it, right? You know, that's the reason it's so important to raise our children, telling them how much we love them, our grandchildren, how wonderful you are, how sweet you are. You can do anything you want. Well, women, you can too. We can do anything that we choose. So I invite you to view yourself as a person that God created in a unique way. Enlarge your vision and have a positive self-esteem. You know, I love the sayings that y'all put down that are powerful. And I go to bed many times at night and I'll say, I'm a wonderful and marvelous made creature from God. Because the world may not always view us that way. So we have to say it until we truly believe it. You know, we can have good thoughts about ourselves or we can have negative thoughts about yourself. I'm looking at those pictures, I had to turn away because I was very quick. And how many of you are quick to judge ourselves? Oh, I'm too big. Oh, my eyes are too little. You know, I'm too fat. I'm too tall. I'm too short. You know, I don't look like Susie. I wished I lived in this house. And we can make it where we're truly unhappy people and we have a low self-esteem. Live your best life today. God He developed you and made you just like He wanted you. Now, can we do things better? Absolutely. That's what He wants us to do. Or we can think negative things. Negative just does not move us forward. It keeps us in a very stale environment. What's important is that we become, this is very powerful, we become what we think. You look at your children, they become what we think, you know, and I've seen it so many times in nursing and in churches and around families, and how some children are just happy and they're confident and they're where some others you don't see that confidence. But women, it's the same with us. If you've ever lived in a destructive marriage, you know, sometimes we think we deserve that. We become what we think. And it's so important for us to do those positive affirmations. I'm a wonderful and marvelous made creature. Believe that somehow you can rise above obstacles. I have rose above many, many obstacles. And when I have them today, I know that it is my responsibility to have faith and pray to the Lord above to see me through, to give me directions, to give me guidance so that I make the right decision. If not, many times, if we don't do that, many times we fall to them and we start to believe those negative thoughts. See the good things. You know, there are going to be things that you have a bad day. I mean, there's some days I wish I had just turned over and gone back to sleep. And many of you have had those days. Why did I get up? But you know, try to see, on those days, women try to see the good things, not the negative things. Negative is very powerful. You know, negative is about 10 times more powerful than a positive. You remember the story, and I think I've told it because I love to tell it. Because there was two men. There was a man on the bridge, and he was going to jump. His life was over. He was tired. Financially, it was a ruin. His marriage was in ruin. He felt like he had nothing to live for. So he was on the big bridge to jump and end it all. A policeman came by and he said, "Stop, stop." Let's talk about it. Let's find you help. And so they sat and talked about it, and they both jumped.
Too much talking. That's too much talking.
What is the moral of that story? How heavy negativity is. It breeds, absolutely. And maybe you have stories that you could tell, but I love to tell that story because I am such a confident believer that we always want to think the best and not the worst. Number 3, I want to talk about never speak negative. And this is very hard, and we all do things and say things that we later may regret. But I think if we have in our mind and be conscious not to speak negative things. You know, if I don't particularly care for what someone said, it's just better if I just keep quiet. Because once I get into it and say something negative, then I want to say something else negative. Then I can think, well, she did this, and you know, she really shouldn't have done that. So it's just better not to think it. So when I'm around negative people, I get away as fast as I can. Because negativity is so heavy, and it's very powerful. Discover the power of your words. Do you ever think about the power of your words? You know, sometimes I've said things to my husband, "I want you to be quiet." And maybe that wasn't the right thing to say to him. Maybe he needed to talk at that time. But those words were already said. We have power in our words. So think about how you talk to your family, your husband, your children, your grandchildren. What words you use are very powerful. They become self-fulfilling prophecy. Our words are that powerful. Attitude is the greatest asset that we have. I want to read something because I'm always reading positive things because in my business it's sales. You can be up today, down tomorrow. You have people in the business today, they're out tomorrow. So it really plays heavy on your attitude. So I have to always make sure that I have the right attitude in order that I keep moving forward. I have to look forward. You know, let's talk about basketball. You can talk, we've had the winners, and Duke was the big winner, and, you know, I have to be along with Les. You know, I went to school there for a year, so, you know, I was, yay, go Duke. But I wouldn't have been too disappointed if Wisconsin had won because they played such a great game. Do you know that sports is 95% skill, 5% skill and 95% mental? The success in my business is 95% mental and 5% that I can teach skill. Whatever business you're in, I can promise you it's the same. Our attitude is very powerful. Do you know that attitude either can break a marriage or build a marriage? Attitude can build a church or tear the church down. Let's read about it. Chuck Swindoll, who is a preacher, pastor that I've always enjoyed listening to, and you've probably heard this before, but I want to read it to you again. For us as women to apply it to our life. Attitude, to me, says Chuck Swindoll, is more important than education. That makes it pretty powerful. It's more important than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think, say, or do. It's more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company. It will make or break a church, make or break a home. The remarkable thing is that we have a choice every day when we get up about our attitude. And many of us get up some days, and I know you have too, and you're like, I don't really feel so great today. Maybe my day wasn't the best. But we still have a choice about our attitude. We cannot change the past, and we cannot change the way that people act in certain ways. Boy, this was one for me to really come to Jesus about. I cannot change the fact that people act in a certain way. I cannot change the inevitable. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. The only thing we can do is play on one thing that we have, and that's our attitude. I always have told my children as they grew up, because I believed in a positive attitude. The one thing you can always have is a positive attitude. You may not go to Duke, or you may not go to Harvard, or you may not go to some big school, but maybe you are good at a skill, you got a great attitude, guess what? You're going to be successful. And you can see women who live in big homes and mansions and have multi-million dollars. They're not happy because their choice is not to be happy, and they don't have a positive attitude. See, money doesn't bring happiness. Education does not bring happiness. None of that. What brings happiness is our choice, our attitude, our decision to be happy. I am convinced, says Chuck Swindoll, that's 10% that happens to us and 90% of how I react to it. So 10% is exactly what happens. I had cancer. I have a heart disease. I have a pacemaker. I have arthritis, whatever you want to add to that. That's the fact. 10% is the fact. But 90% is how I respond to it. I worked in nursing, and I love to work with cancer patients because I was a cancer patient. And I know that's a devastating disease. But you know what? It made all of the difference in the world when I go into a room and sit down and say, let's talk about the disease you're battling. How are you feeling? What do you think about it? And some will say, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to do whatever the doctor says. I'm going to give it my best. And I know the outcome will be whatever it is. And I'd go into another room and sit down with the patient, and the patient would say, my life is in the doctor's hands. Whatever's whatever. And you know what? It wasn't very long till that patient passed away. It's the choice and the choosing to believe that you're going to make the best of your obstacles. Phyllis and I have had cousins to die at an early age. Our mom died at 70. Our dad died. But our mother lived the best life she could every day. All right, Phyllis? She had the right attitude. They had just a basic life. I think she made $422 out of Social Security. Dad's wasn't much more. But she was a happy woman because she chose to be happy. So attitude, and I only say this because I've worked on it for years. Because, sometimes we can feel sorry for ourselves, but that doesn't help us. We still have whatever it is to deal with it. So think about your attitude as being the greatest asset you have. The greatest asset. Sometimes it's easy because I am a perfectionist. I want everything done right. And my husband is someone that he will do it tomorrow. I almost dislike tomorrow. Because I said, okay, honey, while I'm gone, could you do 1, 2, 3? And he said, you know what, I will. And if I don't get it done today, I'll do it tomorrow. And I'm like, help me, Lord, have the attitude I need to have. It's the difference maker. I promise you, it's the difference maker. If you allow your thoughts to defeat you and give into it and give it birth, those words become to affect you. I have watched patients, and I'm sure as Patty as you have, those that have the good attitude and the positive thinking, the outcome may invariably be the same, but they look at their future different because they realize that this is a sinful world. And if someone is not a Christian, this is their best life. But for us, it's not. We're going to make the best of it, and we're going to live today for it to be our best life. But we have so much more to look forward to, right? And that is so important. 4 through 6, how am I doing with my time? I'm taking longer than I thought.
You're all right.
Okay, I'm almost done. This is huge. Let go of the past. Let me ask you a question. What can you do about the past?
Nothing.
We can't do nothing, but what can we do? We can learn from it. But that's all you can do. You got to be able to unleash that. Think of a boat. When I go to the beach, we lived on the beach, and I would sit outside and I'd watch the ocean come in and I watch it go out. And that's how I looked at my past. It's like all of those things did come in. It did happen. But I watch them go away. I watch them float away. You have to release the past if you're going to be happy. You're going to have to release the past, learn from it, and realize it does not have power over you. Again, it's a choice to live the best life that you can live. As Christians, and this is hard for every single one of us, sometimes we have to find strength in adversities. You have to find the strength when you go through an adversity. We all will have them, and if you haven't had them, you will have them. And somehow we have to reach out, and it's not enough to say, okay, God, I expect you and asked you to take care of my needs. Sometimes we have to do a little more than that. But through your adversity, you will find strength in it. Is it easy? Is it simple? No, but it's there. But what God, He expects us to do our best, to be our best. How can we be a witness to others if we're not a happy person? The glass is always half empty, not half full. That we always are having a gloomy day. There's always something wrong with us, something hurting. How do we be a witness to other people? I learned when I had cancer that I had to give in order to receive. When you're going through an adversity, the very best thing you can do is do something for someone else. Every day, I try to make a point to reach out and say something positive to someone, to lift them up, give a gift, tell someone I love them, because that is important. We have to learn to give to get. Any successful person will say, you have to have money to make money. Well, to be successful, you have to give in order for you to receive. First, I think it's very important for us to trust the Lord. This is where God has put us at this day, and we have to learn to trust Him. And there are many times that I walked around and I said, I know, God, you want me to trust you, and I'm doing my best to trust you. Help me. Help me. And give me the peace that I need to go to the next mile or the next level. I find comfort in reading positive books for women. I find comfort in reading the Bible, that I understand the verses about peace and faith and trust. It's not enough to say, I trust you, God. I know you're going to take care of my needs. He wants us to maybe do something. And what I found that worked for me is to reach out and do something for someone else. You know, pay it forward. It's always important. In the midst of your great troubles, God asked us to stay full of joy and to be generous to other people. It will come back. And I have to say this, and hopefully it doesn't offend Patty, but when I was around Easter, her husband, and you know, he is suffering very greatly. But the first thing he did when he walked into Phyllis's house, what can I do to help you? And I really felt the tears. I went to the bathroom. That's a godly man. And when he could be all consumed about himself, he turns and says, what can I do for you? That's so important for us ladies, is to have the right attitude. Trust the Lord. Have faith. Ask for the peace. Number 7, and this is my last one, is choose to be happy. I want to go back to that. Choose to be happy. There's so many women. I have a degree in psychology. There's so many women unhappy. And I'm like, oh, I would hate to be in their life. Choose to be happy. We're not born with happiness. We choose to be happy. Choose our words carefully, because once they're said, they're said. In Romans 8, it talked about trust and you will conquer. Trust and you will conquer. How can we expect a world to be that's infected with sin to provide our best life now? We can't. But we can choose to be happy. We can have the faith and trust in God. Job 5:7 said, man is born to trouble as the sparks fly. There is just trouble in the world. And all who desire to live their best life now is always with God's help through their suffering, through the good times, and through the challenges. Honestly, we live the best life that we can here on earth. Women, we have such an opportunity at our church. We have such an opportunity in the community that you live. You know, there's a hurting world out there. There's a lot of women who are hurting. We have a chance to pay it forward. And you don't have to say, are you a Christian? I'd like to invite you to the church. But when you do things for them, it's a way of ministry. And you show them you're happy. And then something comes up at church and say, you know, we're having this event. I'd love for you to come. It's a ministry. Our best life waits us in heaven, where we'll spend eternity with joy, peace, happiness, free of pain, with all the loved ones that's gone before us. But until then, let's choose for this life to be the best that we can have here. And I pray this has been at least one thing you'll take back with you to think about, because you're a wonderful group of women. I've always loved the church. I love the ministry, and I just feel like God has some great things in store of our church. God bless you.
Potty break.
We have a potty break. We're supposed to do. Of course.
Well, guys, I hope you feel empowered, because I do. I mean, let's hear it for women empowerment.
That's
That was
right.
great. Fantastic. Living the best life you can. She's absolutely right. We will take a potty break. Sounds good to me. And when we come back, we have a secret game for you. So we'll see you back in 2 minutes?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, first of all, I'm the newbie here, and thank you so much for including me. It's been a wonderful, wonderful half day, and I look forward to today. And thank you to the leaders and the presenters and all my fellow women. So I had an encounter this morning. So I was over at that little cafe having breakfast, right? And I was sitting there, and this woman walked up, and you know she's going to be a character, had a big straw hat on, you know, had sunglasses on, had earrings on, a lovely sweatshirt with a cross on it and pants, and she looked at me and she said, "I'd like to talk to you." And I said, "Fabulous, let's have a chat." Well, come to find out, this woman has been here 15 years. 4 years ago, she weighed 215 pounds. Today, she weighs 135 pounds, has another 10 pounds to go. She said, "I knew I needed to reinvent myself. I was not going in the right way." I said, "Well, what did you do?" She said, she said, "That buffet over there?" And I said, "Yeah, I was there last night." She said, "Well, every night I would go there and I would have the soup, the salad, the full buffet, and maybe a little more of the full buffet, and dessert." And then this kept up, and this kept up, and this kept up. She said, "I was 118 pounds when I got married." I said, "Well," she said, "and I blossomed to 215 pounds, and I then went swimming, and I went for a walk, and it wasn't really working." So she said, then I put the two together and said, well, maybe a little portion control. She said, so now, because she was eating breakfast off of a sized plate like this. So she said, that's all I do. I just eat off this size plate, and I continue my exercise. So she said, I still have 10 pounds to go. So she said, I have to leave now. I have to finish my taxes. And I said, you better hurry. It's getting close. She said, I'm really stuck on that page, with all the deductions. And I'm thinking that's very interesting because, sometimes you don't have all these deductions, right? And she said, I have to really figure this out, but I know I'll be there. So I said to her, well, do you still work? And she said, I am so glad you asked that question. She said, most people wouldn't ask that question. I said, well, do you still work? She said, oh, absolutely. She said, I'm a poet. And I said, that's unbelievable. And she said, here they have had poetry lessons. They bring in a speaker from Harvard, and she has taught poetry here. And she would ask us to write about things like seahorses and leaves. And she said, after 2 years, I knew this was not what I could do. I don't relate to a seahorse. So she said, I quit the class, but I began writing about something that I'm totally, totally passionate about. And that's the Nativity. So what she has written is 58 verses. She's taken the Nativity and divided into 58 verses and wrote poems and accompanying melodies to that. Wow. She then took it back to this professor at Harvard 2 years later, and the professor said, unbelievable. She said, let us edit this, and I am submitting this to the Nobel Prize for Literature for 2015. Wow. So her name is Great Grandma Constance. So she kind of unbelievable, right? I mean, you talk about just an encounter in a little, and she's all about what we're talking about today, reinventing the next level, a wonderful sense of humor, because I said to her in the middle before she had told me her name, I said, what is your name? And she said, oh, I can't remember. She goes, that's what you were expecting, right? And so I said, no, I wasn't, not from you. So, I mean, just a wonderful, 15-minute exchange from an incredible from an incredible lady. So, I think one of the things is we have to realize the shadows that we cast as women, right? And I mean, look at that shadow that I was in this morning for 15 minutes, just unbelievable. And I thought, I was gonna bring her over, but I had my new friend, And then I did worry a little bit before I tell you the story. I mean, was it full of just total dementia? But even if she's not telling the truth, it's a beautiful story, right? So that's my story of this morning. Thank you.
You should have brought her over.
Sang to you, I heard her sing.
Did you say she sang me the whole verse?
She sang?
Nice.
Not
58 of them though.
No.
Pam, I forgot the bracelet.
We're gonna-
I'll tell that another time.
We're gonna invite Patty Dix up. She's gonna do mind, body, and spiritual connection.
Oh, is that our pride?
Huh?
This is pretty bad.
We're gonna start passing these around, they go with the topic that I'm talking about today. Well, no, because I have all these books here. I'm gonna give a 3-hour lecture.
Yes.
Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can people see me?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you think you have.
I want to say good morning to everybody. If everybody's like me, thus far I have just thought this program is absolutely wonderful and uplifting and it makes you feel a lot better. Now I wanted to start by asking if anybody here raise your hand if you don't have stress. What?
That was planned.
You can leave, and you don't need this information.
I told her I was gonna do that.
Does anybody have difficulty coping with something?
Sometimes.
If not, raise your hand. Okay, so we all have something in common. The topic I chose to speak about today is the mind-body spiritual connection. And for years and years, scientists and medical care providers have been trying to figure out if there is a connection and what the connection is. I think we've all had the experience of going to a medical provider for problems such as hypertension or chronic pain, and the only offering that these people gave us was pills, okay? No one asked us what was going on in our lives, or were we under a particular stress, was there something that was particularly bothering us, to look at if there could be a possible connection between someone who has a big problem and they have hypertension that's not under control. Excuse me. So thankfully Daisy last night gave us a very living lesson in how to reduce stress with the guided meditation, and talked about other things to keep us healthy. So I'm going to go into this a little bit more, and please, if you have anything to say, you want to, give an example or something, go for it. Now, because I have a medical background, I'm sorry, I tend to look at things like studies and, data, but, and I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted to hear at this retreat today. But what I wanted to just sort of give people a background into how in our society the thinking about wellness and has kind of developed. I noticed I was reading a book from my husband's grandmother who was an RN in like 1918, I think. And everything in the book was about make the patient comfortable, make sure they have fresh air, make sure they have a good night's rest, make sure they get very nutritious food and all these things. And a part of that was because there wasn't a lot to offer sick people at that time. You couldn't say, oh, we'll take that appendix out, or we'll, And so they had to rely on other things, but there was, to read that from back in the 1918 book that I read, was so interesting, because if you go in the hospital now, they wake you up 5 times during the night. They give you the worst food that's ever been produced on the planet, and so it's just awful. However, when antibiotics were discovered and other drugs and treatments came along, doctors and other providers moved away from this holistic approach to medicine. And here's my thought: where has this left us today? So I'm going to one more study, but I'm not going to, it's 3 sentences. There have been a lot of studies that have been done by many different universities to try to actually prove that there is a mind-body connection. Because if you're like me, like let's say 10 or 15 years ago, someone would say, oh, meditation is so good for you, it's going to do this. Oh, yoga is so good for you, it's going to do this. But scientists had to prove this, okay? But the good news is they have proven it, okay? There was one study that I read from the University of Utah that showed that emotion and behavior are deeply rooted in biology. That things like hopelessness, love, serenity, and optimism are not just feelings, they are physiological states. Just as obesity and physical fitness can affect overall health, so do our mental states. And Daisy also talked about that last night with the metaphysical way of looking at things. They did one particular study, which I'm just bringing up, that they studied all these people with cardiac disease, or maybe, anyway, they determined through this study and blah, 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 and everything they do that increased stress is linked to increased calcium deposits in coronary arteries. So that's just and there was some other studies done that social isolation and depression contribute to heart disease. And another study which looked at 11,000 heart attack sufferers, and they found that the people that had heart attacks versus the ones that didn't had higher stress levels and higher incidence of depression. I just wanted to share one thing, is that years ago, okay, I read a book by Bill Moyers. He's a journalist, and he wrote a book which at that time was so revolutionary. It was just like, it's called Healing in the Mind, okay? And that was when I started realizing that the importance of the connection between your health and what goes on in your mind. And if anybody wants to ever read this book, it's an awesome book, okay? Because at that time it was quite revolutionary to try to look into, what were the connections between your mental state and your physical state. So I just wanted to talk about what can we do about all these, all these issues that are coming up right now. I had an experience a year and a half ago. My mom passed away, and obviously this was a time of quite high stress for me, and it didn't go away, but it didn't go right away, you know, it was kind of a thing that kept going on week after week. And when I went to her house one time, after she was gone, I found this book by Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. Now, Norman Vincent Peale is a very controversial man, okay? He's an Episcopal minister, and he, you know, had some ideas that were not, maybe today we'd say those are pretty backward ideas, but he wrote this book, and I happened to find it in my mom's house. This is just an excerpt from The Power of Positive Thinking. And it's very interesting because when he published this book in 1952, this is not a new book. He was, all of his ideas were rejected by mental health experts, and many of the theologians in his church that were, you know, part of the leadership called his thinking heretical. Is that how you say that word, heretical?
No.
Yeah, like he's a heretic. Okay? But what I found, this helped me at a time when my mind was, you know, like this and feeling very high levels of stress and depression. I apologize, I didn't make a printout, but if I'm going to read his 10 tenets for the improving your life, and maybe if you just like kind of close your eyes and think about what he's saying, you know, it would kind of come into your heart, you know. So number one is formulate and stamp indelibly on your mind a mental picture of yourself as succeeding. Never permit it to fade. Always picture success, no matter how badly things seem to be going at the moment. Number two, whenever a negative thought concerning your personal powers comes to mind, deliberately voice a positive thought to cancel it out. Number three, do not build up obstacles in your imagination. Depreciate every so-called obstacle. Minimize them. Difficulties must be studied and efficiently dealt with to be eliminated, but they must be seen for only what they are. They must not be inflated by fear thoughts. Number four, do not be awestruck by other people and try to copy them. Nobody can be you as efficiently as you can. Remember also that most people, despite their confident appearance and demeanor, are often as scared as you are and as doubtful of themselves. Number five, 10 times a day repeat these dynamic words. If God be for us, who can be against us? Stop reading and repeat them now, slowly and confidently. Everybody? If God be for us, who can be against us? Number six, get a competent counselor to help you understand why you do what you do. Learn the origin of your inferiority and self-doubt feelings, which often begin in childhood. Self-knowledge leads to a cure. Number seven, 10 times each day, practice the following affirmation, repeating it out loud if possible. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Let's all repeat that. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. That magic statement is the most powerful antidote on earth to inferiority thoughts. Number 8, make a true estimate of your own ability, then raise it by 10%. Do not become egotistical, but develop a wholesome self-respect. Believe in your own God-released powers. 9, put yourself in God's hands. To do that, simply state, I am in God's hands. Then believe you are now receiving all the power you need. Feel it flowing into you. Affirm that the kingdom of God is within you. in the form of adequate power to meet life's demands. Number 10, remind yourself that God is with you and nothing can defeat you. Believe that you now receive power from Him. And those are the 10 guidelines that he has in the book. Okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about, because the issue of spirituality is a very important one, and the best example of the issue of spirituality is that we have this wonderful group of Christian women who have come together, who have made each other strong, and sharing so much in our lives together. So actually, because this is part of the way I function, I looked up just for actually, I just was quite interested to see if there had been studies done on religion and spirituality having positive effects on physical being. And there was a large number of studies in this area. And just to be brief, many studies found that religion and spirituality have positive effects on such things as high blood pressure. And some of the reasoning given was that that people that have a faith community have social support, they have a family, they have a faith together, and they have an optimism together. I can just think now, and everybody else could probably say, what benefit has going to church and being part of, Naples, the Congregational Church of Naples, First Congregational Church of Naples, has had on them. The uplifting experiences of worship and fellowship. In my opinion, everybody needs this in our lives. And this needs to be combined with many of the other things that not only that I have talked about, but everybody has talked about in the program. So the last thing that I wanted to do, because the spiritual and religious aspect of this is so important, is I just took a couple of readings from the Bible, and again, I don't have any PowerPoint. And some of these readings will probably be familiar to people. But this is an example of how embracing Christianity and trying to, as we do in church, listen to the Word of God and take lessons from that and apply it to our own lives. But I'm just going to read a couple of things from the Bible. I'm not as good as Diane, who can quote them off the top of her head. Okay, this is from Psalm 23, the Good Shepherd, and I'm sure a lot of you know this. You, Lord, are my shepherd, I will never be in need. You let me rest in fields of green grass. You lead me to streams of peaceful water, and you refresh my life. You are true to your name, and you lead me along the right paths. I may walk through the valleys as dark as death, but I won't be afraid. You are with me, and your shepherd's rod makes me feel safe. You treat me to a feast while my enemies watch. You honor me as your guest, and you fill my cup until it overflows. Your kindness and love will always be with me each day of my life, and I will live forever in your house, Lord. This is an example of when we are in despair, when we are depressed. One of the things that we can do is simply look to God. And, there's many ways to do that. There's a lot of things that you can do, but it's part of developing strength within yourself when you have doubts, when you feel you can't go on any longer, when you feel in despair. I'm just going to read a couple more. This is from Psalm 91. The Lord is my fortress. Live under the protection of God Most High and stay in the shadow of God All-Powerful. Then you will say to the Lord, you are my fortress, my place of safety. You are my God, and I trust you. The Lord will keep you safe from secret traps and deadly diseases. He will spread the wings over you and keep you secure. His faithfulness is like a shield or a city walk. You won't need to worry about dangers at night or arrows during the day, and you won't fear diseases that strike in the dark or sudden disasters at noon. You will not be harmed though thousands fall all around you. And with your own eyes you will see the punishment of the wicked. The Lord Most High is your fortress. God will command his angels to protect you wherever you go. They will carry you in their arms, and you won't hurt your feet on the stones. You will overpower the strongest lions and the most deadly snakes. The Lord says, if you love me and truly know who I am, I will rescue you and keep you safe. When you are in trouble, call out to me. I will answer and be there to protect and honor you. You will live a long life and see my saving powers. And I think I just have one more. Let's see what happened to it. I don't know. I think I put the wrong thing in the wrong thing. This last one is, it's really not a summation one, but it is a quote I found about worry. It's from Matthew. And it says, I tell you not to worry about your life. Don't worry about having something to eat, drink, or wear. Isn't life more than food or clothing? Look at the birds in the sky. They don't plant or harvest. They don't even store grain in barns. Yet your Father in heaven takes care of them. Aren't you worth much more than the birds? Can worry make you live longer? Why worry about clothes? Look how the wildflowers grow. They don't work hard to make their clothes.
It's matters with number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, this says, I'm sorry, I read it wrong. It's from Luke 12, chapters, verse 22 to 31.
Thank you.
Yes. But I tell you, with that Solomon with all his wealth wasn't as well clothed as one of them. God gives such beauty to everything that grows in the fields, even though it is here today and thrown in a fire tomorrow. God will surely do even more for you. Why do you have such little faith? Don't worry and ask yourself, will we have anything to eat? Will we have anything to drink? Will we have any clothes to wear? Only people who don't know God are always worrying about such things. Your Father in heaven knows you need all of these. But more than anything else, put God's work first and do what he wants. Then the other things will be yours as well. Don't worry about tomorrow. It will take care of itself. You have enough to worry about today. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Pat,
Huh?